On the first day my wealthy biological parents brought me back to their estate, they arranged a marriage of convenience for me. My parents shrugged helplessly. This marriage was supposed to be for your sister, Chloe. But she claims she wants to be an independent, modern woman and isn't ready to settle down so early. I glanced at the photo of my groom-to-be. He was incredibly handsome. So I gladly agreed. But I never expected that 10 years later, Chloe would suddenly show up at my doorstep. She casually wrapped her arm around Ethan Vance's, pulled out a ring, and said, "Ethan, I designed this wedding ring myself. I've traveled to every corner of the world, only to realize you're the one I love. I've decided to marry you." She then glanced at me. "Thank you for taking care of my fiancé for me. But after all, you were just my placeholder. You can leave now." I wasn't angry at all. In fact, I breathed a sigh of relief. I had stopped wanting this man a long time ago. All I wanted was the $2 billion that belonged to me. Ethan threw the wishing jar onto the passenger seat. I took the hint and sat in the back. Ethan froze. "What's wrong?" I immediately understood his reaction. This was the tacit understanding we had built over 10 years of facing hardships together. We agreed when we got married, I would never try to take Chloe's place. 10 years ago, Chloe had pinched her nose in disgust, dragged me back from the countryside, dumped me on Ethan, and immediately jetted off to Europe. My parents could only hastily announce my existence to the public to salvage the alliance with the Vance family. On our wedding night, Ethan got dead drunk, screaming Chloe's name all night. For 10 years. While Chloe was dancing on the beaches of Hawaii, I was playing the submissive daughter-in-law, sucking up to Ethan's stepmother, Victoria. While Chloe was taking selfies with penguins in Antarctica, I was drinking myself to stomach bleeding just to help Ethan secure his first major corporate contract. While Chloe was chasing auroras, watching sunsets, and exploring wild safaris. I was the one who lost my first and second pregnancies during Ethan's brutal family succession wars. I was even held at knife point by kidnappers. She had been living her best life for 10 years, and now she dared to return and demand that I leave? She wanted to reap the harvest she didn't sow? Who did she think she was? Ethan's lips twitched at my words. "Celine, actually we..." Before he could finish, Chloe's call came through. The phone was connected to the car's Bluetooth, and Ethan pressed the answer button. "Ethan, Mom and Dad told me that you two don't have kids yet. Is it because you've been waiting for me?" Chloe's voice carried an unmistakable mix of shyness and excitement. "Chloe, what nonsense are you talking about?" My mother's voice quickly cut in from the other end. The topic of children had always been my trigger. At 25, I got pregnant with my first child, only to be tricked by Ethan's stepmother into drinking an abortifacient. At 28, I got pregnant again. I hid the pregnancy carefully for 6 months, only to suffer from mysterious chronic poisoning. The baby died in my womb. The day of the labor induction, I cried until my lungs hurt. Ethan held me tight, weeping as he swore he would never let me suffer again. And he did keep that promise. Over the next 3 years, he drove out his stepmother and half-brother, seizing sole control of the Vance Group. At 32, as the head of a top-tier national conglomerate, Ethan gave his first major business interview. On camera, he politely spent a few sentences thanking me for my support over the years. A week after the interview aired, Chloe came back. Right now, Ethan caught my pale face in the rearview mirror and immediately cut the call. "Celine, Chloe doesn't know what happened during these 10 years. Don't take it to heart. She has always been too shielded. She speaks her mind, sometimes without thinking." "Save it," I interrupted him impatiently. "Since when does the cold, ruthless CEO Ethan Vance talk so much when it comes to Chloe? Since when do you explain things for other people?" Ethan's brow furrowed. He abruptly yanked the steering wheel and pulled the car over to the curb. "Celine, are you still holding a grudge against me for that night?" During our first year of marriage, Ethan's half-brother, Julian, suddenly broke out in severe hives. Victoria, Ethan's stepmother, insisted I had put peanut butter in his cookies. 2 old maids in the house held me down, forcing me to my knees on the floor. I looked at Ethan, begging for help. He had been with me the entire time. He knew perfectly well I hadn't done it. But Ethan kept his head down, saying absolutely nothing. That day, those 2 old maids slapped me 20 times. They didn't stop until my mouth bled and my cheeks swelled. Back in our bedroom, Ethan handed me ice packs with a face full of guilt. "The timing isn't right yet. I need you to understand." That understand forced me to swallow all my tears and humiliation. That night, I woke up from the throbbing pain and went to the kitchen for more ice. Through the cracked door of his study, I heard Ethan on the phone. Thank God it wasn't Chloe. She wouldn't have survived that. In that moment, I froze in the hallway. All that talk about building love over time, about facing hardships together to find true intimacy, it was a joke. To this day, Ethan had no idea I heard those words. After my sarcastic comment, he lit a cigarette and stepped out of the car, looking frustrated. Right then, Chloe's phone call came in again. He answered it, but forgot to disconnect the Bluetooth. Sitting in the car, I was forced to hear Chloe's sweet, cooing voice crystal clear. Ethan, can you come over and stay with me tonight? The Bluetooth was cut off instantly. Outside the car window, I saw Ethan stub out his cigarette. While listening to the phone, he kicked a pebble on the side of the road. That anxious, boyish look on his face made him look exactly like the 20-something-year-old he used to be. Ha! Is this the power of a first love? She literally lowered his IQ in a second. 10 minutes later, Ethan got back in the car, looking exhausted. Celine, I'll drop you off home first. Tonight, I might have to. Don't care. I cut him off sharply. I really didn't want to hear what kind of stupid, nonsensical excuse he would invent to lie to me for Chloe. Realizing I had lost my composure, I tried my best to soften my tone. You don't have to report your schedule to me, Mr. Vance. Ethan couldn't miss the cold distance in my voice. He slammed his hand against the steering wheel in frustration. Celine Miller, you've always kept your guard up against me. Are you really that eager to draw a line between us? How ridiculous. He was the one constantly crossing the boundaries of our marriage, yet he was blaming me. I turned my face away, blinking back the tears that kept threatening to spill. My 10 years of experience told me, never let them see you look defeated. While we were in a deadlock, my mother called me. Celine, your father and I are just terrible with words. We had to ask Ethan to come over and talk Chloe down. Can you just give your sister some time? She's still young. She'll figure things out eventually. I scoffed. How pathetic. She's 30 years old, and she's still young? Then why, 10 years ago when they forced me into this marriage, did they say, you're an adult now, Celine. You need to learn to share the family's burdens. I spoke, my voice icy. Mom, I didn't expect you and Dad to still be the same, always doing whatever it takes to clean up Chloe's messes. But at least your tone is a lot gentler now than it used to be. Actually, I was found by my biological parents when I was 18. But Chloe couldn't tolerate my existence. She framed me again and again with methods that were laughably clumsy, yet my parents chose to believe her every single time. The last straw was when she threw herself down the stairs and claimed I pushed her. Without even asking for my side of the story, my father slapped me across the face. My mother screamed that I was evil and said they should have left me in the country. From beginning to end, they never asked for my opinion. They simply decided to send me back to the countryside. It wasn't until Chloe decided to run away from her wedding that they secretly brought me back to the Miller house behind my father's back. Honestly, the actual time I spent living with them was barely a year. Celine, do you really hate us that much? My mother's voice sounded incredulous. The question actually caught me off guard. I thought my complete lack of affection for them was painfully obvious. Did they honestly think 10 years of Chloe's absence had made us a happy family? Ethan didn't come home that night, which was exactly what I expected. My head throbbed all night, and I used that time to draft a divorce agreement that satisfied me. Being switched at birth, brought back, abandoned, and forced to marry. I never had a choice. At least with this divorce, I could be the one calling the shots. At 9 a.m., Ethan called. About last night. Ethan, come eat breakfast. I made sunny-side-up eggs for you myself. As Ethan spoke, Chloe's voice chimed in from close by, immediately grating on my nerves. I'm not interested. I cut him off coldly. I had imagined 100 scenarios of what they did last night, and none of them were things I wanted to hear. Celine Miller, do you have to be this cold? I remained silent, waiting for him to continue. On the other end, Chloe seemed to step closer to the phone. Ethan, don't fight with Celine because of me. If she really can't stand me, I can just leave the country for another 10 years. You don't have to do that, Ethan comforted Chloe softly before turning back to the phone. There's a family dinner at the Millers tonight. I want you to be there. You must come, Celine. Chloe chimed in with her sweet voice. The call ended, and I clenched my phone. Go? Of course I would go. My parents, my husband, what did I have to fear? 2 hours later, I showed up at the Miller mansion dressed in head-to-toe designer couture. Chloe, however, was sitting barefoot on the sofa, holding a thick stack of photos, excitedly showing my parents her travels. She was wearing pajamas, her hair casually messy. When she saw me, she froze for a second, then burst out laughing, covering her mouth. Celine, it's just a family dinner. Why are you dressed like you're going to the Met Gala? Don't tell me you're trying to compete with me even at dinner? My steps faltered, my hands clenching into fists, but I forced a smirk, looking down at her with disdain. Well, I can tell that no makeup look of yours took quite some effort. I'm different from you. If a reporter snaps a photo of me looking sloppy, it damages the Vance family image. You. Chloe bolted upright, her eyes instantly red, tears perfectly pooling in her eyes. You're just a thief who stole my life while I was gone. How do you have the face to show off? Hearing those words from Chloe, the fake daughter, was pure comedy. I looked at my helpless parents and burst into hysterical laughter. Ha! Between the two of us, who is the real thief? When you're happy, you're the heiress of the Millers, and the family fortune belongs only to you. When you're unhappy, you say you're Chloe Miller, and you need to find yourself. You packed your bags and ran, so why the hell was I forced to take over your mess and marry into this bullshit alliance? Celine Miller. Ethan, who had been silent, suddenly roared. Do you have to make your regrets so damn loud? His eyes were bloodshot. He marched up to me and raised his right hand high. I tilted my chin up, glaring back at him defiantly. I thought, go ahead, slap me. Maybe a slap would finally wake me up from this 10-year dream of being Mrs. Vance. Ethan, don't. Chloe grabbed Ethan from behind, her voice cracking with tears. We cleared things up last night. I'm satisfied. If you fight with Celine because of me again, I'll never forgive myself. Cleared things up? Why didn't he push her away? My mind was a chaotic mess, and the words slipped out of my mouth. Ethan Vance, you only have the guts to show off your power in front of me. In front of Chloe, you're nothing but a well-trained dog. Slap. The sharp sound echoed. The slap landed squarely on my face. Chloe hid behind Ethan's back, poking her head out with a triumphant smirk. Celine. My mother rushed over, her trembling hand reaching out to touch my face. Stay back, I screamed, taking a fierce step back to put distance between us. Then, staring straight at Ethan, I said word by word. Mr. Vance, I want a divorce. 10 years of my life. I don't think asking for $2 billion is asking too much. Ethan's pupils contracted. He froze on the spot, his eyes burning into me. $2 billion. Are you insane? Chloe was the first to react. Ethan made that money. My dad helped him. What does any of it have to do with you? You got to be Mrs. Vance for 10 years. You already hit the jackpot. How dare you ask for money? I ignored Chloe, keeping my eyes locked on Ethan. $2 billion, Mr. Vance. You get to fix your regrets, keep your empire, and marry your first love. It's a perfect deal. You aren't losing anything. Celine. Ethan took a step toward me, his movements urgent yet hesitant. I took a deep breath and held up my hand to stop him. Let's make this quick. We both got what we wanted in the beginning. Now it's time to go our separate ways. Before turning to leave, I looked at the four of them. The absolute worst thing that ever happened to me was being found by the Miller family. If I weren't a Miller, I would still be in that small town, running the bakery with my adoptive mother. She wouldn't have died of carbon monoxide poisoning. And there would still be at least one person in this world who genuinely loved me. When I woke up at the hotel, I had 99 plus missed calls and 99 plus unread messages. Celine, Mom knows you were just talking out of anger. Celine, I do not agree to this divorce. This isn't a decision you can make on your own. Celine, about the past, your father and I are sorry. I sneered. The slap had already landed. There was no taking it back. I kept scrolling and saw a message from Chloe. Celine Miller, you're just putting things back to how they were. Why are you acting like a victim now? What's your play? Did you honestly think 10 years of being Mrs. Vance would make Ethan love you? He told me everything that night. He only married you as a shield to protect me from his stepmother. Celine, you will never win against me. I froze. He actually said that? Chloe's words were like a dagger, ripping away my last shred of dignity. To think that Ethan, to comfort his first love, would completely disregard my feelings. Everything I did to save face yesterday must have made me look like an absolute clown in Chloe's eyes. I forced myself to stay rational. I forwarded the divorce agreement and authorization letter to my lawyer. Then I booked the earliest flight out of the country. Once that was done, I took a screenshot of Chloe's text and sent it to Ethan. Your tactics and your taste in women have really gone downhill, Mr. Vance. Then I blocked his number and shut off my phone. On my way to the airport, my best friend, Rachel, called. Celine, check your Snapchat right now. My thumb hovered over the red end call button, but Rachel's frantic tone made my blood run cold. I didn't hang up. I put her on speaker and tapped the yellow ghost icon on my screen. "Look at Chloe's public story," Rachel urged, her voice trembling with a mix of fury and disgust. "I swear to God, Celine, I want to drive over there and strangle her myself." I found Chloe's profile. She had unblocked me, or rather, made sure her story was entirely public so it would inevitably find its way to me. I tapped the purple ring. The video opened in the Vance master bedroom, my bedroom. Chloe was sitting at my vanity, wearing one of Ethan's oversized white dress shirts. It slipped off one shoulder, a calculated mess. But that wasn't what made my breath hitch. Around her neck rested the heart of the ocean sapphire. It was the necklace Ethan had custom ordered for me 3 years ago, right after the doctor told me my second baby had no heartbeat. He had knelt by my hospital bed, clasping it around my neck, sobbing into my palms as he promised me the world, promising me safety, promising me forever. In the video, Chloe casually flicked the sapphire with a perfectly manicured nail. "Morning world," she cooed to the camera. "Some things just naturally find their way back to their rightful owners. To anyone who thought they could keep my seat warm forever, thanks for the temporary service. The real queen is home." In the background, the ensuite bathroom door opened. Ethan stepped out, a towel wrapped around his waist, drying his hair. He didn't look at the camera, just muttered, "Chloe, did you see my watch?" The video cut off. "Celine?" Rachel's voice pulled me back to the leather interior of the town car. "Are you okay? Please tell me you're not crying over this piece of trash." "I'm not crying, Ratch," I said. And it was true. My eyes were bone dry. The suffocating weight that had pressed on my chest for 10 years, the desperate need to be loved, to be enough, shattered in that instant. It didn't leave a void. It left a profound, icy clarity. "Where are you right now?" Rachel asked. "Heading to JFK. I'm leaving." "Good. Where?" "Geneva. I have a meeting with the Vanguard Trust." A sharp intake of breath came from Rachel's end. She was a corporate attorney. She knew exactly what Vanguard meant. "You're pulling the trigger?" "Celine, if you execute the Vanguard protocol, you're not just divorcing Ethan. You're going to gut the Vance Group." "He said I was a shield, Rachel." "A placeholder," I replied, staring out the window at the blurry New York skyline. "Let's see how his empire stands when the shield is removed." I hung up, snapped my SIM card in half, and tossed it into the small trash bin built into the car door. Part 1. The Severance. Geneva was freezing, the air biting and pure, a stark contrast to the suffocating, perfumed halls of the Miller and Vance estates. I sat in the minimalist, glass-walled office of Julian Vance. Yes, that Julian. Ethan's exiled half-brother. The same one whose allergic reaction to peanut butter had resulted in me being beaten by the maids 10 years ago. What Ethan and my biological parents didn't know was that Julian and I had made peace 5 years ago. When Ethan ruthlessly purged Julian from the company during the succession war, I was the one who secretly wired Julian the seed money to start his own venture capital firm in Europe. I didn't do it out of pity. I did it because I knew Ethan's stepmother had orchestrated the peanut butter incident herself to frame me, and Julian was just a pawn. Julian poured 2 glasses of neat whiskey and slid one across the mahogany desk. He had matured from an angry, rash heir into a dangerously sharp businessman. "I heard the news," Julian said, his dark eyes studying my face. "Ethan really is a fool. He traded the architect of his castle for a court jester." "I don't care what he is anymore." I took a sip, the liquid burning a pleasant trail down my throat. "I'm here for my 2 billion, Julian. Are the patents secure?" "Airtight." Julian smirked, opening a leather-bound folio. "During the 10 years I played the submissive wife, I wasn't just arranging flowers and hosting charity galas. When Ethan was struggling to secure the Vance Group's future, I was the one who negotiated the acquisition of Cygnus Medical Tech. I spent nights vomiting blood from stress-induced ulcers, charming European investors while Ethan was busy putting out PR fires at home. Because Ethan wanted to hide the acquisition from his stepmother at the time, the holding company that owned Cygnus was registered entirely under my name. Cygnus now held the patents for the AI diagnostic software that made up 40% of Vance Group's annual revenue. Ethan was the face, but I held the leash. "If we pull the licensing agreement," Julian tapped the paper, "Vance Group stock will plummet by at least 30% in a week. The board will eat Ethan alive." "Don't pull it yet," I said, leaning back. "Let him climb a little higher. Let Chloe enjoy the view from the penthouse. When they feel invincible, we cut the floor out from under them." For the next month, I became a ghost. I lived in a chalet overlooking Lake Geneva, spending my days hiking, reading, and breathing clean air. My body, exhausted by years of trauma, miscarriages, and stress, slowly began to heal. The dark circles under my eyes faded. My skin regained its color. I finally looked like a 30-year-old woman, not a battered war veteran. Occasionally, I checked a secure laptop to monitor the digital fallout. Back in New York, the media was having a field day. The return of the true heir, Chloe Miller and Ethan Vance spotted at charity gala. A decade-long mistake corrected? Chloe was everywhere. She was photographed on yachts, at fashion weeks, dripping in Vance money. My parents gave tearful interviews about how their family was finally whole again, conveniently omitting the fact that they had thrown me away like garbage. But behind the glossy magazine covers, the cracks were showing. Rachel, who is still embedded in New York's corporate scene, kept me updated via encrypted emails. "Ethan is losing his mind," she wrote. "He's fired 3 executive assistants this month." Chloe tried to host the annual Vance Foundation dinner. She seated the CEO of Sterling Bank next to his ex-wife. The guy walked out before the appetizers. Ethan looked like he wanted to murder her. "By the way, Ethan has hired 3 different private investigation firms to find you. He's obsessed. Let him look." I closed the laptop, poured myself a cup of Earl Grey, and watched the snow fall. 2 months into my disappearance, the real chaos began. Vance Group was up for its quarterly earnings call. This was the moment I had been waiting for. I gave Julian the green light. At 9 a.m. New York time, Cygnus Medical Tech officially served Vance Group with a notice of termination for all software licenses, citing breach of contract due to internal restructuring. At the same time, I filed the divorce suit in a European court, publicly demanding the $2 billion in asset division, attaching undeniable proof that I was the sole proprietor of Cygnus. The financial world exploded. Vance Group stock didn't just drop, it free fell. The media narrative flipped overnight. Suddenly, the public realized that the boring, placeholder wife was actually the silent titan keeping the Vance empire afloat. My burner phone rang. It was an international number. I recognized it immediately. I let it ring until the last second before answering. "Celine." Ethan's voice was ragged, completely stripped of its usual arrogant baritone. He sounded like a man drowning. "Where the hell are you?" "Hello, Mr. Vance. If this is about the licensing agreement, I suggest you speak to my lawyers." "Fuck the lawyers, Celine," he yelled, the sound of glass shattering in the background. "What is this? 2 billion? Pulling the patents? Are you trying to destroy me?" "I'm cashing out my investment," I replied, my voice steady, eerily calm. "I gave you 10 years of my life, 2 children, and my absolute loyalty. I think 2 billion is a bargain." "Celine, please." The anger suddenly evaporated, replaced by a desperate, pathetic whimper. "I made a mistake. That day, at the house. I didn't mean to hit you. I was just so stressed and Chloe was crying and I panicked. I'm sorry. Just come home. We can fix this." "Fix it? Like how you fix the stepmother problem. By using me?" "That text Chloe sent you is a lie." Ethan rushed out, his breath heavy. "I swear to God, Celine. I never said you were a shield. She made that up to hurt you. I married you because my family forced me. Yes, but I fell in love with you. I felt guilty about Chloe. She was my first love. She was fragile." "Fragile." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "She backpacked through the Sahara and partied in Ibiza while I was getting knifed by her corporate rivals in a parking garage. Your definition of fragile is fascinating, Ethan." "Celine." "You let her wear the sapphire," I stated. Silence fell over the line. A heavy, suffocating silence. "It was just a necklace," Ethan finally whispered, knowing it was the wrong answer even as he said it. "She found it in the safe. I took it back right after." "I swear." "That necklace was a memorial to the child I lost because of your family's war. And you let her parade it on the internet like a cheap trinket." My voice dropped to a whisper, cold enough to freeze hell. "We have nothing left to say. See you in court." I hung up and blocked the number. The next day, Chloe did what she did best. She played the victim. She posted a tearful video on Instagram, no makeup, looking perfectly distraught. "I know my sister hates me," she wept to her millions of new followers. "She's angry that Ethan and I found our way back to each other. But trying to destroy an entire company and thousands of jobs just out of spite, it's cruel. Celine, if you're watching this, please, don't punish innocent workers just because you're jealous of me." It was a brilliant PR move for an idiot. The comments were flooded with people calling me a bitter, vindictive ex-wife. 10 minutes after the video went live, my mother called me from a new number. "Celine, stop this madness immediately." My mother's voice was hysterical. Do you have any idea what you're doing? You're embarrassing the Miller family. Your father's business partners are pulling out because of the scandal you're causing. I am not a Miller, I said calmly. You made that very clear 10 years ago when you slapped me and threw me out. We are your parents. We gave you life, she shrieked. Chloe is devastated. Ethan is on the verge of losing his position as CEO. If you want money, your father and I will give you a few million, but you need to withdraw this lawsuit and give the patents back to Ethan. A few million? I chuckled. Mom, my net worth is higher than yours now. I don't need your pocket change. Tell Chloe to enjoy the bed she made. You are a monster, my mother spat. You have no heart. No wonder Ethan never loved you. No wonder you couldn't even keep a baby. I froze. The blood roared in my ears. What did you say? I asked, my voice dangerously low. You heard me. You're cursed, Celine. A cold, unfeeling bitch who couldn't even carry a child to term. It's karma for how you treat your own flesh and blood. She hung up. I sat there, the phone resting in my lap. My hands were shaking, not from sorrow, but from a rage so volcanic it blurred my vision. Karma. My second pregnancy. The chronic poisoning. The doctors said I had ingested high levels of a specific heavy metal, likely from a tainted supplement or herbal remedy over a period of months. I had been so careful. I only ate food prepared by myself. The only thing I consumed that I hadn't bought was the prenatal tea. The special, organic, Himalayan restorative tea my mother had sent me every month, claiming it was a rare family remedy to ensure a healthy pregnancy. She had been so unusually attentive during those months, I had actually foolishly believed she was finally loving me like a mother should. I picked up my burner phone and dialed a number I hadn't used in years. It belonged to Marcus, an ex-Mossad private investigator based in New York who owed me a massive favor for hiding his assets during a messy divorce. Marcus. It's Celine. Well, the ghost of Wall Street. What do you need? I need you to look into something. 10 years ago, up until 3 years ago, I need Chloe Miller's financial records from Europe, who she associated with, what she bought, and most importantly, what packages she sent to the Miller estate in New York. Give me 48 hours. It took Marcus exactly 36 hours. When the encrypted file landed in my inbox, I poured a glass of water, sat at the kitchen island, and opened it. Chloe hadn't been finding herself in Europe. She had been drowning in debt. She had gotten involved with a wealthy, toxic crowd in Paris, developed a severe gambling addiction, and owed millions to some very unsavory underground figures in Monaco. My parents had been secretly wiring her money for years, liquidating their own assets to keep her kneecaps intact. But 3 years ago, they ran dry. They told Chloe she had to come home, or they had to ask Ethan for money. Chloe knew that if she asked Ethan, he would find out she wasn't the pure, innocent free spirit he worshipped. Then there was the manifest. Marcus had tracked a shipping receipt. 3 years ago, right around the time I announced my second pregnancy, Chloe had purchased a large quantity of a banned traditional medicine in an underground market in Macau, heavily laced with lead and thallium, an odorless, tasteless toxic metal that causes fetal demise. She shipped it to my mother in New York, labeling it as Himalayan prenatal tea for Celine. Attached was a recorded phone intercept Marcus had pulled from a data broker. It was Chloe and my mother. Mom, you have to make sure she drinks it. Chloe's voice sounded strained, desperate. I am, sweetheart, but why? I thought you didn't care about her baby, my mother asked. Because if she gives Ethan an heir, my place in this family is gone forever. They'll never let me come back. She's stealing my life, Mom. Just give her the tea. The shaman said it just causes a natural miscarriage, nothing dangerous for her. Please, Mom. Okay, my darling. Don't cry. Mommy will take care of it. I listened to the audio 3 times. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt a terrifying, absolute silence settle over my soul. My mother didn't know it was poison, perhaps. She was just stupid, blindly following the daughter she adored, believing it was some harmless mystic brew to cause a natural miscarriage. But Chloe knew. Chloe knew exactly what she was buying. She murdered my child, so she wouldn't lose her backup plan. And Ethan threw me away for the woman who killed his baby. I closed the laptop, walked to the bathroom, and splashed freezing water on my face. When I looked in the mirror, the woman staring back at me was dead. What remained was an executioner. I called Julian. Change of plans, I said. We aren't just crashing the stock. I want a hostile takeover. I'm flying back to New York. Julian chuckled, a dark, hungry sound. Welcome back to the war, Celine. The Vance Group's 50th anniversary gala was the social event of the decade. held at the Pierre Hotel. It was supposed to be Ethan's triumphant night to reassure shareholders that the company was stable and to officially debut Chloe as his fiancée. I arrived an hour late, perfectly timed. I didn't wear a submissive pastel gown. I wore a backless, tailored crimson suit by Alexander McQueen. My hair was pulled into a sleek, severe chignon. I wore no jewelry, save for a vintage Cartier Panther ring on my index finger. When the double doors to the ballroom opened, the string quartet seemed to falter for a fraction of a second. Heads turned. Whispers erupted like a tidal wave across the room. The sea of black tuxedos and ball gowns parted as I walked in, flanked by two towering men, Julian Vance on my left and Sterling, my lead attorney, on my right. Across the room, standing on a slightly elevated dais, was Ethan. He was mid-laugh, holding a champagne flute, his arm wrapped around Chloe, who was draped in white silk, looking every bit the blushing bride. When Ethan saw me, the glass slipped from his fingers. It shattered on the marble floor. Chloe's smile froze, her eyes widening in sheer panic. She quickly masked it with a sneer, whispering something into Ethan's ear. My parents were standing nearby. My father turned pale, and my mother looked like she was about to faint from rage. She took a step toward me, but Julian's imposing glare stopped her in her tracks. I didn't stop until I was standing right at the base of the dais. The entire ballroom had gone completely silent. You could hear a pin drop. Celine, Ethan breathed. He looked terrible up close. He had lost weight, his cheekbones sharp, the shadow of exhaustion in his eyes. He instinctively took a half step toward me, dropping Chloe's waist. Ethan, I acknowledged with a curt nod. Beautiful party. Shame about the stock price. What are you doing here? Chloe hissed, gripping Ethan's arm tightly. Security. Why did you let her in? She's not on the list. Actually, Chloe. Julian spoke up, his voice echoing in the silent room. As of 4 p.m. today, Celine is the majority shareholder of Vance Group. She didn't just pull the licensing, she leveraged the debt through my firm and bought out the 3 board members you managed to piss off this month. Ethan stared at me, his eyes wide with horror and a sick kind of awe. You bought out the board? I own 51% of your legacy, Ethan, I said smoothly. I don't need an invitation to my own company. You malicious bitch. My mother suddenly shrieked, breaking through the crowd. How dare you? You steal from your own family. You ruin your sister's happiness. You are rotten to the core. I slowly turned to look at the woman who gave birth to me. Rotten to the core? I echoed, my voice carrying clearly to every reporter, every investor, every socialite in the room. I gestured to Sterling, who handed me a sleek black tablet. I tapped the screen. The massive projector behind the stage, which had been displaying the Vance Group logo, flickered. Suddenly, an audio recording filled the ballroom. Mom, you have to make sure she drinks it. If she gives Ethan an heir, my place in this family is gone forever. Just give her the tea. The shaman said it just causes a natural miscarriage. The color drained from my mother's face. She stumbled backward as if she had been shot. My father grabbed her arm, looking between her and the screen in total bewilderment. Martha, what is that? What is she talking about? Wait, there's more, I said calmly. The screen flashed to a series of documents. Customs declarations. Bank transfers from the Miller estate to shady accounts in Monaco. And finally, a toxicology report from the Macau police, confirming the exact lethal heavy metals found in the tea batch Chloe had purchased. 10 years ago, I addressed the crowd, my voice unwavering. I was forced to marry Ethan Vance because Chloe ran away from her duties. I spent 10 years building this company alongside him. And in return, my sister, terrified of losing her A-team, purchased thallium poison, and my mother fed it to me for 6 months. A collective gasp echoed through the room. Several women covered their mouths. The reporters in the back were frantically typing, flashes going off like strobe lights. It killed my unborn child, I continued, turning my gaze back to Ethan. It nearly killed me. And the woman standing next to you, Ethan, the woman you slapped me for, the woman you threw me away for, she orchestrated it. Ethan looked like a man who had just been gutted alive. He slowly, mechanically, turned his head to look at Chloe. Chloe was trembling violently, tears streaming down her face. Ethan, it's a lie. It's deep fake. She's trying to frame me because she's jealous. Mom, tell him. But my mother was on her knees, sobbing hysterically, rocking back and forth. I didn't know, she wailed, clutching her hair. Chloe said it was just a natural herb. I didn't know it was poison. Oh God, my grandbaby. I didn't know. Her confession sealed it. You. Ethan's voice was a guttural rasp. He stepped away from Chloe as if she were made of acid. You killed my child. Ethan, no, please. Chloe reached for him, but Ethan slapped her hand away so violently she fell to the stage floor. Don't touch me, he roared, a sound of such profound agony it made the hair on my arms stand up. He looked at me, tears streaming down his face, his chest heaving. Celine, I didn't know. Oh my God, I didn't know. It wouldn't have mattered if you did, Ethan, I said, my voice completely devoid of pity. You would have found an excuse for her. You always did. She's fragile. She didn't mean it. You built an entire marriage on my suffering to protect her. No. Ethan fell to his knees right there on the floor, ignoring the hundreds of people watching his complete degradation. He reached out to grab the hem of my trousers, but Julian stepped forward, kicking his hand away. Keep your hands off her, Julian snarled. Celine, please. Ethan sobbed, burying his face in his hands. I love you. I swear to God I love you. I was just stupid, I was blind. Please don't leave me. Take everything. Take the company, take all the money, just let me spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I looked down at the cold, ruthless CEO of Vance Group, reduced to a weeping, pathetic mess at my feet. I felt absolutely nothing. No triumph, no sorrow, just the clean, sterile feeling of a surgical amputation. I already took the company, Ethan, I said. And as of right now, you are officially voted out as CEO. Julian will be taking over tomorrow. I looked toward the ballroom doors. Right on cue, four NYPD detectives in plainclothes walked through the crowd, flanked by 2 Interpol agents. Marcus had done his job well. Moving thallium across international borders to commit murder was a federal and international offense. Chloe screamed as the officers hauled her up from the floor, snapping handcuffs on her wrists.
Mom, Dad.
Do something. Ethan, save me. She shrieked, her perfect hair coming undone, her makeup running down her face in black streaks. My father stood frozen in shock, while my mother lay on the floor, practically catatonic with guilt. Ethan didn't even look at Chloe. He just kept his eyes fixed on my shoes, weeping. I turned my back on all of them. Let's go, Sterling. Julian, I said, buttoning my blazer. We have a board meeting at 8 a.m. I walked out of the Pierre Hotel, the flashbulbs lighting up the New York night behind me. I stepped into the crisp air, the sounds of Chloe's screams fading into the background. 6 months later, the fallout was biblical. Chloe was extradited to Macau, where drug and poison trafficking laws are notoriously unforgiving. She was sentenced to 25 years in a high-security prison. Without her designer clothes and enablers, she crumbled in weeks. My parents' reputation was destroyed. My father's company went bankrupt amid the scandal, and my mother was admitted to a psychiatric facility, utterly broken by the realization that she had poisoned her own grandchild for a daughter who only saw her as a tool. As for Ethan, he didn't fight the divorce. He signed everything over to me, his shares, the estates, the cars. He walked away with a modest trust fund left by his father. The last I heard, he had moved to a small cabin in Montana. He drank heavily. Rachel sent me a paparazzi photo of him once. He looked aged by 20 years, a hollow shell of a man, haunted by the ghosts of the family he threw away. I sat on the balcony of my villa in Tuscany, a warm breeze rustling the olive trees. A glass of Chianti rested on the wrought iron table beside me. My laptop chimed. A video call from Julian. Morning, Madam Chairman. Julian grinned from the Vance Group boardroom in New York. Quarterly profits are up 12%. Firing Ethan's cronies was the best thing we ever did. Good work, Julian. Make sure the foundation allocates the new budget to the pediatric hospital ward.
Done.
By the way, Marcus asked if you're coming to his wedding next month in Tel Aviv. Tell him I'll be there. And I'm bringing a +1. Julian raised an eyebrow. Oh, do tell. I smiled, glancing over my shoulder. Walking out of the villa's kitchen, carrying a plate of fresh bruschetta, was a tall, handsome architect named Leo whom I had met in Florence 3 months ago. He didn't know about the billions. He didn't know about the boardroom wars. He just knew my coffee order and the exact way to make me laugh. Just a friend, I told Julian, though my smile betrayed me. Happy for you, Celine. Truly. We hung up. Leo set the plate down and wrapped his arms around me from behind, kissing the top of my head. Everything okay with work? Everything is perfect, I said, leaning back into his warmth. For 10 years, I had survived in the dark, fighting for scraps of love from people incapable of giving it. I had been a placeholder, a shield, a punching bag. But as I looked out over the sun-drenched Italian hills, feeling the steady beat of my own unbroken heart, I knew the truth. I wasn't the placeholder. I was the prize. And they had lost me forever.